Hello everybody, my name is Space. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a cargo mission or a hauling mission. This is actually for the parts or modules that I got from a golem that I actually managed to salvage or grab the loot from a while back. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but there's at least a video on my channel where I was doing triglavian hunting in a paladin, and I warped into a spawn of triglavians, and there was actually a golem who was sitting there in my spawn in point or warp in point for this triglavian fleet that I warped in, and the triglavians were right on top of him, and they just about killed him when I got there. And then shortly after they killed me because I was like right in the middle of this fleet. So I lost my paladin, and also this golem died there straight away. What I did was I scooped the loot of this golem, and he actually had very bling stuff. He had like Pith X modules, Pith C-type multi-spectrum shield hardeners, like pretty expensive stuff. And I contracted these items back to him. The thing is, this guy, I even sent him an email, or eve-mail, not an email, but he didn't reply, and he just logged off, and he's not replied to my email, not accepted the contract. So I'm going to keep these modules now for myself. It's been now, I think I put a month or something on the contract, something like that, and it's anyway expired. So I thought we are going to do a little bit of a hauling mission in HiSec, and I wanted to just demonstrate to you guys further how I do hauling in HiSec and how it is very easy when Sunesis actually. Sunesis is the number one hauling ship I like to use because it has a very good cargo bay and is relatively safe as well when it comes to the align time as well. Let's grab one of these, maybe this one, Cargohold. I think this is the right one. Let's see if it's got the right fitting right here. Yep, it's got right fitting right here. So 1.4 thousand cubic meters. I've got the destination set to Inertial. Let's go. The modules it's got there are worth about, I think it's 700 million, something like that. So I mean, it's not going to be cheap stuff we're going to be hauling. We are going to be hauling quite a bit of ISK right here, and this could be an option to use like something like a blockade runner, deep space transport. But the thing is, I really like this Sunesis. The Sunesis destroyer is very quick, very fast, and it has a pretty decent cargo hold for being just a destroyer. Like, I'm used to traveling in like these interceptors, for example. Interceptors, they have very tiny cargo hold, so you can't really have anything in there. But here with the Sunesis, at least you can insta align and still have a decent amount of cargo space. There's another alternative as well people use is the Hecate. Hecate can actually have a decent amount of cargo hold because it can, with having the ability to like instant align, because it has a very fast align time. But the Sunesis is a little bit cheaper, so that's why I prefer to use the Sunesis. A little bit simpler as well. So we'll just keep warping here to Inertial. Be fun here if we go to Inertial and we actually find some triglavians on the way there. We can even put the scan here. Triglavians, we might see any when we go past. The thing is, this is like not the most optimal type of way to travel through HiSec because we're going through a 0.5 system. 0.5 systems tend to be pretty populated with the gankers because the Concord security response time is very slow. They're very slow. But Waira is actually a system that I'm quite familiar with, and it is usually a pretty quiet system, or most of the times that I've been traveling there is a pretty quiet system, because this area of space that we're in right now, I think it is the region of Koichi. I think, let's see now if it is this region right here. Can we see the systems, related solar systems? No, it's not these solar systems. Let's see now. Maybe it's in Lone Trek or maybe Sarakua. Maybe Lone Trek? No. The point is that this region of space is usually where I do triglavian hunting because it is a pretty good space where I find a lot of triglavians for some reason. And I think it's because it's quite close to Sakenta, and it's also close to the Como system as well, and Kino. So this, like, you see that we are here. This sort of area of space, this junction sort of, you see this route right here. This is a pretty nice place to farm triglavians. You got the Como, you got Nani over here, Kino over there, and Sakenta is also up here. Senda is over there. But this is a nice place to farm triglavians because you can find a lot of triglavians here. And I'm quite familiar with the system of Waira, and it's not a system that I would prefer to go through because of the 0.5 security status, but it usually has pretty few players here, so that's why it's not too bad to go through. And even then, this like system, or just 0.5 systems in general, they are actually pretty smooth to go through because you anyway insta align, so stuff is extremely rarely going to lock you up unless they've got some extreme remote sensor boosting kind of ships. St. Carson. The modules we've got in the system of, let's see now, Inertial, it has got the Pith X type, I think it's shield boost amplifier, a multi-spectrum, and some Caldari Navy cruise missile launchers. This Golem who died, he was using cruise missiles. I never really recommend that for triglavian hunting because like the travel time on those cruise missiles is just going to take way too long. You may as well just use the torpedoes and be at close range. It's pretty slow when you're using sniper fit golems. So I prefer to, if I'm going to go sniper fit, go with like a tachyon beam laser paladin or a railgun chrono, something like that. I think you can also go with a artillery Varga. Me personally, I've never used that. I'm not a too big fan of the Varga in terms of his appearance. I prefer the Kronos and Paladin. But either way, the Golem is not the best for sniping. That's why we've got some cruise missiles which we will find here in the system of Inertial. It was a pretty rough day. I remember losing that 1.8 billion something ship. I think 1.9 billion, 1.8 billion Paladin. It was not an expensive Paladin. Pretty much the cheapest Paladin you could ever fit together. It had pretty much no bling apart from like a Republic Fleet large cat battery. So I lost that. Managed to grab the guy's modules from his blinged out Golem. So we got a little bit of money back from that as well, but it's still not fully back. Autothesian Lances. These guys, I can sometimes encounter them fighting triglavians actually. They like sometimes have a bit of a quarrel with the triglavians. They like fighting each other. You can see that go down. But I've only seen that once ever happen. It's a very rare occasion that I've seen that. Because I think it has to be they spawn in on the same location. And they fight with each other. The Sunesis is a pretty reliable ship to haul stuff in. I've hauled billions upon billions of ISK in Sunesis. They are just so useful. I don't think I've ever hauled as much valuable cargo in a ship other than the Sunesis. Like the Sunesis is like by far the ship I've hauled the most valuable amount of cargo in total, or across the most amount of jumps, or whatever you want to call it. Just it is so good at what it does. And you can also actually fit it with a bit of a combat fit as well. So if someone in if you're trying to use this in low sec or null sec, maybe not null sec because of bubbles, but in low sec, for example, you could maybe put some combat modules as well. You can fight the people as well who are trying to kill you. You can put some drones because you got drone bay. This is a destroyer that can do a lot of different activities. This general theme with the Society of Conscious Thought ships, and that's what the Sunesis is, a Society of Conscious Thought ship. Unfortunately, we do not have a frigate, otherwise it would be nice to have a frigate for the Society of Conscious Thought. Okay, so these are the modules right here, so almost 700 million ISK. Multi-spectrum shield hardener, Pith X type, shield boost amplifier, cruise missile launchers, and the Republic Fleet large cat battery. Take the modules right here, plenty of space. As you can see, we may as well use this as an interceptor, to be honest. But the Sunesis is a bit tankier than an interceptor, so that's also a good thing about it. If it somehow is able to get hit, it will more likely survive than a interceptor. So we can go and dock up back in Jita and put our modules in our little module stash that I've got in Jita. Have we got any triglavians in the grid? Nah, there's no wormholes or cosmic signatures over here. There's no wormholes here. It was nice, time farming triglavians, but in here there's the system of Inertial until it went south. It was really unexpected, that whole incident right there, and it's just quite funny. You can see how I just chilling and think, oh yeah, I see a golem there, we can help each other out, and then I realize when I'm warping in on this triglavian fleet that I'm just warping in on the exact location I do not want to warp into, and that is where the golem led the triglavians to, because I usually warp in at like 100 on these triglavian fleets. The Golem had himself warped in at 100 from the exact same angle that I warped in as well on my Paladin. So he was at 100, the same place I warped in on, and the triglavians were swarming him, basically killing him. He was almost dead. He was pretty much dead when I like warped in or landed on grid. Like just about after I landed on grid, his Golem exploded, and that's where my Paladin exploded as well. If I had arrived just like 20 seconds earlier, I would have been able to warp out, because I instantly realized that okay, everything's swarming me or swarming around the Golem, which is exactly where I land on. Then it's not a good idea to stay there because they're gonna kill me. My Paladin can't do anything at close range. It's got tachyon beam lasers that have very bad tracking. They're gonna kill me. So I would have been able to warp out if it was 20 seconds earlier. I'll be just able to warp out, because then they'll be still focusing on that Golem. But the Golem died exactly when I arrived, landed on grid, and that was the end of my Paladin and his Golem. That's the modules right here that dropped. I tried to find the Ezekiel mail for the Golem. I couldn't find it, and you can actually sort of put a filter on Ezekiel actually, so that it doesn't show NPC kills, because the guy died to NPCs, and you can actually set a filter that doesn't display them. I actually, back in the day, I used to turn this off, or this filter, like, or I turned the filter on, because when I used to be in a corp in nullsec, then there was a big thing with the killboards, like, oh, they do not want you to look embarrassing in your killboard, you know, do not look embarrassing towards other alliances. So we'd have to turn off these settings so that our NPC kill mails wouldn't show when we died to rats and these kind of things. So I remember doing that. But then when I left the corporation, then I just turned it back on, because I don't care about that. I prefer to at least see my losses. At least I can remember that. Nothing I'm ashamed of.
Warp drive active.
You can always remember your mistakes, and also take you back to some memories you had as well. When I look at my previous losses, just completely into the void, if I don't have them in the Ezekiel. Then again, you do have them in the game, in the combat log, but it's easier to access through Ezekiel. Sarikua. But he had a Pithx shield boost amplifier, a decent amount of boosting you're going to get. This is a really intense CPU module. See here, 77 teraflops. Like, it's a very powerful module, but very like CPU intense modules as well, and it's also a bit expensive too.
Warp drive
This is where the majority of the, or like half the ISK here is just from this one module over here. It's very powerful if you're able to fit it. Very, very powerful. How much shield boosting you get is pretty crazy from this module right here. Sunesis. I wonder how many Sunesis are flying around in high-sec, hauling very, very expensive stuff that swoop under gankers' noses. You know, I have actually encountered Sunesis getting killed who've been carrying a lot of loot. It's actually in these special stations. You know, Abyss loot, like Abyssal Dead Space. You can get loot from Abyssal Dead Space, and so one of them is called the
warp drive active.
Triglavian survey data. And Triglavian survey data actually can be sold at NPC stations for a little bit higher price than in the typical like trade hubs like Jita. Because in Jita, the people who are going to buy your Triglavian survey data are players. And Triglavian survey data can be sold to NPCs at 100,000 ISK per unit. In like players, what they'll do is they'll buy them in Jita for, I don't know, maybe 93k, 95k, like almost 100k, but a bit less, to get a little bit of a profit margin where they can sell it to the NPC buy orders. So it's a bit more efficient to sell them to NPC buy orders, because then you just straight away sell it for 100,000, the max you can possibly get. The thing is, a lot of people do sell their valuable Triglavian survey data there, and outside this station, I think it was in the system of Hakenta. I think, what was it called now? It was a Kaldari system, at least. A few jumps out from Jita. Not so many, like maybe 5-6 jumps out from Jita. Can't remember the system name now. But the point is, there was a station there where you sold the Triglavian survey data, and there were people actually who camped this station who actually had these special insta-locking tornadoes. The combat battle cruiser, or the attack battle cruiser actually, of the Minmatar. And what they did was they have these artillery cannons that can like one-shot stuff very easily. And then they also had remote sensor boosting. I think they're called Blackbirds. At least it was some kind of remote sensor boosting ship. So they were providing remote sensor boosts that made it so that these tornadoes locked extremely fast. And I actually looked on Zkill and I actually saw that there were quite a few Sunesis that had been popped by this group. So it is not like you're not invincible when you're in this Sunesis. And if you maybe get a little bit complacent, you could also get killed as well. I think that's the main thing that happened to these guys. They were getting a bit complacent. They maybe didn't use an instant undock bookmark, and they got popped because they dropped like billions of ISK. Because people who farm Abyssal Dead Space, they could accumulate billions of ISK if they don't sell everything straight away, and they can accumulate a lot of ISK. And then when they finally decide to sell it, if someone pops you, it's going to be a big loot pinata right there. But we're here in Jita. Our module's safe and sound. Put them right in here. It's really a very relaxing activity to haul stuff in the Sunesis. I would strongly recommend everyone who wants to haul items of value in high sec use a Sunesis. It's amazing. It's an amazing ship. Alright, so a bit of hauling right there. I want to just show you guys the recap of this whole fiasco from the triglavian hunting disaster that happened quite a bit of time ago. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.